Hi there, welcome. And I'm pleased to introduce you to my very first guest on Artists on the Air, and that is Justin Favela. You've heard me raving about him. So here he is. Hello, Justin. It's so wonderful to see
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk to
you.
you.
And would you describe your art? Like, suppose I just meet you in an elevator and we've got about 8 floors. What is your art like?
I mean, the easiest way to describe my art is like I make pinata style art or pinata art.
And yet,
I've been
not pinata, not pinata.
and yet not a pinata. It's pinata style. I guess yeah. My work is really kind of celebrating and kind of investigating my own identity, my own culture through popular like visuals. And so I think piñata was something that I started working with really early on as a as a as a way to point towards Latinidad, towards Latino culture,
Mhm.
and make statements on it. And so I see piñata as like as a pop symbol, you know. So
Mhm.
it's very easy to make statements with that because a piñata is, you know, about celebration, but it's also about destruction, about ritual, you know. And so I started making piñata sculpture that turned into piñata paintings, and then that turned into so these like fringe paintings, and then that turned into full on murals. And so that's what I'm known for. But I also work in all mediums.
Mhm. So explain where we are and what you did.
This is at the Des Moines Arts Center. And so I wanted to make a piece site specific about Des Moines, and the idea the exhibition was titled Justin Favela Central American. And so, because I'm also a Mexican and Guatemalan, so if you look at this, the walls are lined in murals that represent pieces in the collection of the Des Moines Art Center. So all those fruits and vegetables you see behind it are more pieces from Grant Wood, who's a famous, of course, artist from Iowa, regionalist artist from Iowa, and then it kind of morphs into these scenes from Central America, where I'm from. And so you can see artworks from Carlos Merida, and then these like tropical scenes from that represent beaches in the Caribbean. And then on top of that, I discovered taco pizza when I was in the Midwest, when
Hmm.
I was in Iowa, and I found out that taco pizza was invented in Iowa. So I had to basically, I had to make one, and I made the whole gallery basically an altar for this giant 20-foot round taco pizza. And
Um, there we go. Here's another aspect of your art. Do you want to talk
oh
about
yeah,
lowriders?
I do a lot of lowrider sculpture. This was one of the first ones I did. This is modeled after the Gypsy Rose lowrider, and to me, the lowrider is such an important symbol of Latinidad, of Chicano culture, specifically West Coast, you know, LA, Southwest culture. It also relates to like Route 66. And so, and also border culture, because there's lowrider culture like in El Paso and different places like that. And so, I also think that the art form is underrated. You know, there's a lot of hierarchies in fine art, and like what is fine art, what is craft, what is a hot, you know. And so like where do lowrider artists fall in that, right? And if you've ever been to a lowrider show, these are sculptures, these installations, these artworks are exquisite. And so being able to honor that, you know, and honor the craft, the art form of lowrider is amazing to me. Is a privilege as well. And so, you know, the symbol of American progress is the car. And so for like Latino for Latinos to take an old beater, you know, from the mid-century and make it into this beautiful artwork, it speaks volumes to me. So this is a tribute to the Gypsy Rose, that is to scale of the actual 1964 Chevy Impala.
Okay, great. Let's see. Oh, here we go. This brings back memories. This
Yes,
is
that
where I
is.
met Justin.
Yeah, this was. an installation I titled "The Cheese That Binds Us," and so
I
they
didn't know
had
that.
this. I know they didn't put it on the wall, but that's okay. So the cheese that binds us. I mean, I had done the arts industry residency before in the winter, and this was in the summer of last year, 2024. And so the museum set up this, Disneyland version of the factory in the museum, so people could experience the factory. And so as an artist that lived in Wisconsin for 3 months before, I'd never seen so much cheese in my life. So I wanted to do something that was related to cheese, and I have already started doing a lot of work about like about nachos and like Tex-Mex food, and kind of challenging these notions of authenticity through this really like funny like manufactured food from the United States. And so I thought it would be really fun to make Doritos and Tostitos and all these chips, and make this kind of explosion, this nacho factory in the art center.
And there were probably hundreds more hanging from the ceiling by the
Oh
time.
yeah, this was this was the beginning maybe of it. Yeah.
All right, let me enlarge this and see if you recognize this space.
Oh yeah. So this is one of the walls from the Sugar Hill Children's Museum of Art and Storytelling in New York. It's an art museum slash residency slash after school program, a museum for storytelling. It's amazing. So uh, this mural is based on the background paintings from the movie The Three Caballeros. So this is a representation of the Amazon jungle through Disney. And so there was, I think, 8 more murals this size that made up the entire storytelling area of the museum. And I kind of created this fantasy landscape of Latin America through these animation cells from movies like The Three Caballeros, Coco, The Emperor's New Groove, like all of these really uh, amazing, beautiful movies that the cells are works of art in their own, and also very problematic and racist movies. So, it's kind of this duality that I play with within my art, creating this fantasy that people from the United States think of when they think of Latin America.
Okay, let me see. I think I have. Oh, up here, I told you I have the pizza.
Yeah, that is that's the slice that's taken out of the pizza at the Des Moines Arts Center, and I was able to make this really cool pizza hanging sculpture that hung in the atrium. And I was actually inspired by Grant Wood, who did American Gothic and all those really amazing agricultural paintings. I went to his museum, or a museum with a corn cob chandelier that he had made. And so I was like, oh, I want to make my own version of a chandelier. And I made this taco pizza slice. And the best thing about taco pizza is everything falls off of the taco pizza when you eat it. So the ingredients went all the way down the 3 floors, all the way to the bottom. And then you have a taco salad to eat at the end of your pizza. So it's really
There
nice.
you go. So this was a 3-story sculpture that you did, about 3
It
stories.
was a 3-story sculpture, and then they took it to the Kohler Art Center, borrowed it for my exhibition there, my group exhibition there, and so it had another. The people got to see it in Sheboygan as well.
And where is it now?
And now it's back in my studio here in Vegas.
Um, I think I said already, but I had the privilege of working with you for 4 weeks. So I saw your passion on how you created. It wasn't just we're slapping some glue on and some paper. You were passionate. And what I want to know is what fuels that passion for you? Where does it come from? Have you always been so passionate about your art?
I guess so. Yeah. I guess I don't really think of myself as a passionate artist, but I guess I am. Where does it come from? I guess I didn't find art until like later in life, like art as a way to visual art, I should say, as a way to express myself. So I think being an artist is newer for me. When I was younger, I think being creative was discouraged.
Hmm.
It wasn't really encouraged. I'll say that, maybe not discouraged. And because I don't think my family ever saw being an artist as like a viable career, you know. So when I would draw or make little sculptures when I was younger, I was never encouraged to do it. So I was into music a little bit in middle school and high school. But then when I got to college, I was a couple years in and I took a drawing class as like a humanity credit, you know, a humanities credit. And I fell in love with it. So I didn't really become an artist until college. And then once I found that, once I found sculpture and installation art and saw that I could express myself through that medium, it was really exciting for me because it was a newish thing. You know, now it's of course, you know, almost 20 years later, and I'm still, it's still exciting to me because I'm like still figuring it out and problem solving and just like making something out of nothing is like my favorite thing to do as an artist. And so I think when I'm doing these public pieces that are also uh, programs with the public, it's exciting to see people come in and they're like, "Oh, I'm not really an artist. I don't want to do this." And I'm like, It's literally gluing tissue paper on this cardboard. You can do it." And that little spark of like, when a person starts, you know, making a cardboard Dorito chip or whatever, and you can see them, like you can see this like almost like childhood wonder in a lot of these older folks, especially, and then they stick around and they help me make you know, chips for like an hour, and you know, and that's exciting to me to like bring that out in people as well, you know.
Hmm.
And so yeah, and I just like talking to people and getting to know folks, and so uh my artwork is a vehicle for that as well. So I think that's where it comes from. I just you know, I think maybe because I wasn't encouraged as a kid to be creative, whenever I see somebody that's like, I'm not really great at art, I'm like, Okay, sure, but there's work to do here, and maybe you can find something here that can spark something within you." And on the other side of that coin is I've learned so much from volunteers and the public that come in and maybe use a different technique or like do something in a different way, and then I end up picking up those skills as well. So in a way, it's also a way for me to get some tips, you know?
Um,
Yeah.
Justin, a lot of our viewers may not know what installation art is. Can you
Oh, sure.
explain that concept for people?
Yeah, I think a lot of museums are embracing installation art more and more. Especially after the advent of social media and Instagram. You know, creating immersive experiences. So you know, it could be installation art is basically, you know, creating sculpture or projection or some sort of visual or sound installation that you can actually be immersed in, right?
Mhm.
And that involves installing sculpture or installing, you know, video. And so yeah, installation art can mean many things, but a lot of times it is visual and it is sculptural. And for me, I like to create kind of an immersive experience where you're like wrapped in the artwork, you know.
Mhm.
And to me, I think in the beginning it was also kind of like a political thing where, okay, I'm in these museum spaces, I'm in these white, literal white spaces, and figuratively white spaces. And so how much color can I put on the wall? How much space am I allowed to take up in here? And so that kind of became my own little personal challenge. You know, I wouldn't tell them that, but whenever, that's why when we were working together at the Kohler Art Center, I literally was like, I want to fill this entire room, as much as I could get away with. And they let me get away with a lot
Oh, yeah. We'll have
at
a
the art
picture we'll
center.
share. Yeah. And he
Yeah,
did.
so literally, I want you to feel like you're immersed. It's the idea that a lot of the minimalist artists of the '60s talked about, like having the viewer walk into a room, and a single sculpture in a room could be is an installation piece, right? It's installed in the room, and it's making you aware of the space and aware of your own body in the space in in with this, with this object in there. So whenever you make so I figured that out quickly, like, oh, if I make something that's the size of a person's body, they're immediately going to have a relationship with this object. And that's really fun to figure out kind of how to manipulate space and the viewer when they're in the space to have an experience.
Mm.
And being from Las Vegas, that's what we do here. That's what casinos do. So it's just like another, it just came naturally to me because I grew up around it.
Hmm. I had never even had that thought. Thank you about why
Hmm.
your art is so big and having the viewer immersed in it. Where are you going next? Because you're on the road probably more than you're home.
I know. Honestly, I'm taking a little bit of a break this year. Believe it or not, I only have a couple of big museum shows instead of the. Normally, I have around 8 or 10 shows a year, so I'm taking a little bit. I'm slowing down a little bit, but I do have a really big show, or I should say, I have a really big installation coming up. I'm not allowed to say where, but I'm working on that right now. So I'll be in Vegas, and then later in the year in August, I'll have a solo show at the Ulrich Museum in Wichita, Kansas. So I'll be back
Okay.
on that side of the world. I'm so excited.
So, Justin, there is a book about your art. Can you tell us about this book?
Yeah, I have this book that came out recently, and it covers the first 10 years of my career. It's called Justin Favela Fantasia Fantasy. And yeah, the book itself, we wanted it to celebrate the community that helped me become the artist that I am today. And also it's an art piece in itself, made with the same materials that I make my artwork with.
Yeah, I remember because I love that book. So all the papers are very different and they're based on papers you would use or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's made with mixture of newsprints. There's risograph printing in there, so these really beautiful illustrations of my process done by an amazing artist named Edith Valle, also out of Texas. And yeah, it's a lot of. There's some family history in there. Just a lot of stuff about my previous podcast, Latinos Who Lunch. And so, yeah, you can go to justinfavela.com and it'll direct you straight to where you can order the book.
So there is a
Yeah,
website,
there
justinfavela.com.
there is. It will, yes, and it will direct you to the book. It is a limited edition book. We only printed a few, and so yeah, snatch them up while they're available.
And where else can they find you? If our
Uh,
viewers want to get more of Justin, where
oh
can
my
they
gosh.
find you?
Well, I'm on social media. I don't post too much nowadays, but I'm at Favy Fav, FAVY, on pretty much all social media platforms.
Tell us about the Family Fiesta concept and
Oh, sure.
what the benefit is to the museums and to the community and in general.
Yeah, I do these family fiesta performances with my family. I guess they're more in line of like an intervention. Thinking back to the old conceptual performance art days. I was obsessed with that. Anything in art that I don't understand, like minimalist work or like this early performance art stuff. I'm like, how do these artists get away with it? And how can I comment on it and do something that's significant with my heritage and my art? So I go to a lot of museums, and a lot of museums claim to be a place where community can gather and celebrate. And I thought, my family always feels uncomfortable in museums. They don't feel like the spaces are really for them. What would happen if I brought my family to a museum, to maybe a green space or inside of the museum if they have a courtyard or whatever, and we have a party? And how will that affect the space? And and just us existing and us just being us being there, will that what will that do with the institution? And a lot of times, it's amazing to do these performances, because a lot of Latino families maybe have never felt comfortable going to the museum. And so if my family's there picking the music, like giving out food, having fun, it kind of changes the dynamic of the museum. And performance that I've been doing for 10 years with my family, where they come, we have to have my family there, we have to have food, we have to have music, we do pinata time, and we have to have fun. Those are the elements of Family Fiesta.
Well, thank you so much for taking your time to be with us today. And I'm so happy to have this program, Artists on the Air, because a lot of people don't understand the life of an artist. And maybe they think you're in your studio all day long, painting, but you're on the road, you're gathering community. So it's a very different lifestyle for artists today, I think.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays, you got to kind of be a jack of all trades, right? It's you got to market yourself. You're a small business owner. You have to design this, coordinate that. It's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah. It's this very romantic version of the tortured artist in the studio. And that's not always the case. Most of the time, it's not the case.
You're the fun guy who travels around the world with your art.
Yeah, exactly.